speakers, and we hope to do the same every year. And we're marching forward. It's a long journey, lots of stuff to happen, and for people to realize the importance of ILA and the larger purpose for which we started the organization. So today we have a topic on dowry. Dowry was made illegal in India in 1961, but even though 60 some years have gone by, it persists in many parts of the country, which sometimes leads to increase in cases of domestic violence and harassment and even dowry deaths. And whether it's the husband or the sister-in-law, the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, it's kind of sad that in this day and age, they're not valuing the person and are expecting the bride to come with durable goods and cash and real property and cars. And that's the essence, the start of the marriage. How could a marriage even, what is the future of the marriage that starts with a business transaction that requires tangible goods? So that what we want to talk about today is, how did this dowry system start in India, and what does the law actually say, and why is there not compliance, and why is there are not enough deterrents, and why are people not complying, even though there's significant punishments against families, not just the husband. So we'll have a open, transparent discussion. We have a wonderful panel, and I'll ask each panelist to go ahead and introduce themselves. Tell us everything about your life in 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I know people say that's not enough, but trust me, it's enough. Tell us where you were born and what law school you went to and where do you work now, and anything else about your life you want to tell us. So let's see. Any volunteers to start, or should I pick? Advocate Khurana, you're number one on my screen, so you go ahead. All of you are muted except for Dr. Jha, so please unmute.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Great. I am P.S. Khurana. I did my LLB from Punjab University, Chandigarh in 1990 and enrolled with the Punjab and Haryana Bar Council in 1990. Then I did my post-graduation also from Punjab University. And I am practicing for the last more than 30 years in Punjab and Haryana High Court and Supreme Court of India. I have also developed a law firm for the last about 10 years under the name of Legal Eye. And I am personally dealing with civil and constitutional issues. And I have a team of lawyers who are expert in their different fields. And we are serving the society by projecting and getting the redressal of their grievances. Thank you very much.
And what do you do with the Punjab police?
Yes, I was their resource person for IPS and gazetted officers. They came to the police academy for training. And being a resource person, I have delivered lectures for about 6-7 years on land laws. Because I taught this subject of land laws as a guest faculty in Punjab University for 7 years. And I'm an author of Land Laws in Punjab, a book which is a textbook for Punjab University, Guru Nanak Dev University, and Punjab University.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Suvarna?
Hi, everyone. My name is Suvarna Dubey. Currently, I am the director for the Delhi chapter at IDIA. It's a charitable trust which helps put underprivileged students who wish to do law through law school. Before this, I was working with Loctopus. I also have, I've been working with an organization, basically a platform, a women lawyers networking platform called Her Forum, since almost 3 years now. So yes, that's a bit about me.
Good. Thank you for joining us. And IDA is doing a great job, so we congratulate you on that. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
So how do you help people that don't have the wherewithal to get into law school?
So we conduct a lot of sensitizations. We go to schools where underprivileged students study. We mostly target either government schools or NGOs, orphanages, and we talk to students there about legal awareness, about careers in law. And those students who are interested, we ask them to give an aptitude test. Once they've done that, if they clear the aptitude test, we take an interview of theirs and gauge how interested they really are. The entire aim of this exercise is to see whether they'll be able to pull through law school, the pressures of law school, rather than determining whether or not they will be at the moment able to clear CLAT. And then we also do a background check to make sure that they do come from the sort of financial background that we are targeting. And then once that happens, we take them in our system, we train them for CLAT. And when they do clear CLAT, then we fund their entire 5-year-long education.
So the students you're talking to are 16, 17, 18 years old?
Yes, 11th standard and 12th standard students.
Okay. And who's funding your organization?
Tier 1 law firms, a lot of advocates. It's basically how a lot of organizations are able to do their CSR. So that's where we get, mostly all donations though. But yes, that's like CSR is also a way of they can also get that done through this.
That's wonderful. And when did IDIA start?
It's been over 10 years now, just a little over 10 years. So yes, it was founded by Dr. Shamnath Bashir. He passed away a few years back, but his mission, his vision, all of it continues.
Wonderful. Was he a lawyer?
He was he had studied law. He was a professor at NUJS, Kolkata.
Oh, wonderful. We need more people like him in this planet.
That's true.
Dr. Jha, tell us about your life.
Hello everyone, and I'm a simple person. Like I did my master's in political science and then a PhD in international relations. But while like I was preparing for UPSC and doing law together, and then I did my PhD. So and then as I couldn't get through, I just switched to the litigation, and I'm working at Supreme Court, and I'm assisting Dr. Abhishek Atre there, and we deal with all kinds of cases.
Right. That's what's good about Indians. We have a PhD in international relations and we say, I'm a simple person. Okay, very good. Sanya, what happened to Sanya? Kishwar. Okay.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, there was a network issue at my end. Hello, everyone. I'm Sanya Kishwar. I'm an assistant professor at OP Jindal Global University. And I think that's it about me. I'm also pursuing my PhD from NLU Delhi and have been in the field of law as an academician.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. What an awesome panel we have. Okay, so Does anybody want to tell us how did the dowry system start in India and when? What do we know?
Should I start with this?
Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Jha. Go ahead, Dr. Jha. What? Tell us. Dr. Kishwar, do you know when and how the dowry system started?
So yes, I can't tell for sure who exactly started, but it has a religious undertones to it. So, for instance, it was propagated and it was a misinterpretation which was propagated. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah.
mother will mute these.
Yeah,
people. Okay.
my connection was
Yeah,
lost. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
So I'm saying, yeah, I'm sorry. There was a connection at my end as well.
Okay. So go ahead. What do you know about how this system started in India and when?
Yeah, so basically it had a religious undertonings as well. So it started as a misinterpretation during of the scriptures. Basically during the Vedic times, some of the gifts were given to the bride, and she took it to home. But after some time, with continued misinterpretations, these gifts became a way to extort money and all the other things from such brides. So what had started as a gift, which the parents had to give out of their own will, culminated into the whole system of extortion.
Right. So, Suvarna or Mr. Khurana, I have heard that because the Indian legal system, the Indian laws in the past, um, the properties went to the son. And so when the daughter was leaving home, this was an opportunity for the parents to kind of equalize and give her share. And rather than fixing the laws to have the property be evenly distributed between the sons and daughters, they somehow started living with the system of dowry, which caused great harm because it's okay for one thing for parents to die and leave money to their son and daughters, but to ask the parents to come up with half of their wealth and give it to the daughter when she's going away in marriage caused immense harm from all points of view. So do you, Mr. Khurana or Suvarna, do you believe that dowry system started because it was an opportunity for the parents to part with some of their wealth and give it to the daughter who was now going to get when the parents passed away?
So it has it's quite true to an extent. Dowry has really evolved as a concept over the years. There is evidence to prove that in the ancient times it did not exist at all. But then during the Vedic period, we started hearing terms such as yotraka, which basically meant giving a gift to the married couple. And that concept came out of the ceremonial tradition of Kanyadan, because during Kanyadan, something known as Vardakshana used to be given to the groom, which was a gift from mostly the bride side of the family given to the groom. Because in Hinduism, especially in the northern areas of our country, the groom was considered to be a godlike figure. Ki devta hai. That sort of an ideology was propagated during those times. And so it kept evolving, and I think Arthashastra was probably the first text which finally talked about dowry in its present sense, because before that it was solely targeted towards giving something to the bride, giving something to women, because during early times women were uneducated and parents felt a greater sense of comfort in giving their daughters something when they were, whether it was ornaments or property, or just any sort of gift while she was going to her husband's house, so that she could also in a certain sense be self-sufficient there, and that she was not seen as a burden at the house, and she herself would also feel a bit more comfortable having some property in her hand. But then this actually it started, the whole concept of dowry started, was led into a really problematic direction, first by the British, to be honest, because I think Lord Cornwallis in the late 1700s imposed a total prohibition on women owning properties. So then what started happening was parents were giving money to their daughters while they were getting married, and since once they would get married, and since ultimately they had no ownership of any property, the husbands would think that this is a good idea to, and the husband's family would think that this is a good idea to take that money from the women as well, like take that money away and keep it with them. And then that started happening more and more, which is why in today's times as well we hear that the boys side of the family is demanding a certain sum of money. It actually stemmed from that place. So yes, because of the rules and because of the laws that the British imposed on Indians at the time, and women not owning property at all, it started going into a very different direction from which the concept of dowry was very like initially intended to go towards. And yes, then it started getting misused more and more, to the point where it reached a stage where, since women were not allowed to own any property, parents would want them to have something while they were getting them married off. I think Khurana sir would be able to elaborate on this more.
Yes, she is right in explaining how this concept of dowry originated. The twisting point, I'll just explain the twisting point. It was a very noble idea, as Mr. Chugh has also pointed out, and Swarna has also pointed out, that it is actually a share in the family of the girl, which she has been given by the parents at the time of marriage. The point basically where this whole process derailed is, one, the girl was not properly educated that this is your istri dhan and you have to retain it. And our family is a joint family where we treat each and every parcel of the assets, property belongs to the family. And this concept led to the female entering into a new family, that these assets are belongings of the family only, that is in-laws family. That was a naive concept at that point of time, the girl accepting that family as her family, and whatever the assets being istri dhan belongs to the family, which ultimately led to a greed on the part of the in-laws family. Then they claim it as a matter of right that she should bring some share from her parental house for the in-laws family. And this led to the whole concept of dowry. Then again, one thing I wish to clear, it is not that all over the India, this concept of dowry is existing. There are tribes, there are areas, even in Madhya Pradesh, even other parts of the country, where the concept is otherwise, where the boy is going to the house of the girl along with his assets. So it is, we can't generalize it that the dowry system is existing all over or pan-India. Yes, majority of the population is affected by this menace. Please, sir.
Right. So I guess then India gets independence in 47, and then in 1956, I believe the government of India changed some rules and said that the girls or the women, the daughters, would be allowed to get some property as well. And then a big change happened a few years ago. And then in 61, the Dowry Act was passed, that dowry is illegal. Anybody have any idea on what exactly does the Dowry Act say? It just simply prohibits dowry, or is there more flavor to it?
Should I do the? Should I start with this?
Giving
Yes.
and taking also an offense.
The Section 2 of Dowry Prohibition Act actually defines dowry, which means any property or valuable security given or agreed to be given, either directly or indirectly, by one party to a marriage to the other party to the marriage, or by the parent or either party to a marriage, or by any other person to, to either party to the marriage, or to any other person, or at or before or any time after the marriage, in connection with the marriage of the said parties, but does not include dower or meher in the case of persons to whom the Muslim personal laws Sharia is applicable. So dowry is defined in precisely defined uh, as some kind of valuable security given to the daughter during her marriage. Also, the another popular definition of dowry is it is a sort of gift uh, which the parent gives to their daughters. But gifts are not demanded. Gifts are voluntary and they should be given as per their wish and as per their capacity. But for as we see, the dowry is demanded. It's from the one side to the marriage to the other side. Like the daughter's parents are actually in a like they want to get their daughter married and start a new life, and they give a price for it in a way because it is being demanded from them. Also in Section 3 Dowry Prohibition Act, it is an offense to it is defined as an offense to take dowry and give dowry. So the family of bridegroom would be alleged for taking dowries. They can be it is an offense and they can be uh, charged with this offense even if that is consensual, because giving and taking both are an offense. There was a popular case of Arjun Dondiba Kamble versus State of Maharashtra, wherein the court held that the sense of expression that is contemplated in the Dowry Prohibition Act is a demand for property or the valuable security having an inextricable nexus with the marriage. That is, it is a consideration for the marriage from the relatives of the girls by the groom side. It is not something that is given voluntarily, willfully, or according to their own wishes. So, and there is another case, that is Rajiv versus Ramkishan Jaiswal, wherein it was held that any property given by the parents of the bride need not be in consideration of the marriage. It can be, it can even be in connection with the marriage, even if it is connected with the marriage. Then it constitutes dowry. So dowry is very precisely defined in our act, and still it continues. The things are going on. It's because people are not trying to get out of it. They are increasing the if their financial condition is better now. The demand for dowry is even more. It's not reducing with time. It's getting bigger and bigger day by day.
So what is the punishment if somebody gives or accepts dowry?
The punishment is if somebody is there are fast track courts who are now being constituted for this. Also, these cases are under Section 41, Clause 1, Clause C of CRPC. It is being held that there is a certain procedure, like you have to. It has to be within 7 years of marriage, and the death should not be. There are kitchen incidents which we get to hear. The brides are being burnt. There are harassments of the brides. So the government has been trying, and the acts are there for dealing with these cases. But and it has been amended several times. So the act prohibits giving or taking of dowry, also punishes the person who does not follow the provisions. The Indian Parliament also criminalizes the dowry relating violence against the women and dowry related cruelty by in-laws within 7 years of her marriage. And the judiciary has been appointing these fast track courts for this purpose. The main reason behind increasing the cases is the loopholes. The punishment is very much laden. It is a bailable offense, but and also that Section 498 has been misused in this regard by the people. So there are a lot of things. It comes under cruelty also, harassment also. So the it will depend upon the kind of the incident has happened. The punishment will accordingly be decided by the courts.
Right. And do you hear about a lot of people being convicted for giving or accepting dowry?
No,
No.
no, but the punishment is the minimum is 5 years. It can be more than 5 years also for either giving or taking dowry. But it's not compulsory with a person who dies within the 7 years of the marriage. It's not compulsory that it's related to dowry or harassment. It can be any other reason. A woman can even voluntarily or for some other reason can commit suicide. But it doesn't mean that this incident happened only because of the dowry. There are Supreme Court judgments on that. Recent also there's Supreme Court judgment on that. So people have that notion that, okay, no, this has happened within the period of 7 years, so it amounts to dowry. It is not like that.
Sir, may I clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. There are three different aspects. One is a Dowry Prohibition Act 1961. It declares accepting and taking or giving dowry as an offense also.
Yes.
A different punishment is prescribed for that. Regarding 7 years and suicide or a death within 7 years of marriage, it is an offense under section 304B of the Indian Penal Code. Then regarding cruelty by the husband or the family members of the husband, it is an offense under the Indian Penal Code under section 498A. Different punishments have been prescribed for these offenses. Thank you.
But are people getting convicted? Because we have a law since 1961, 62 years have gone by. And according to Dr. Jha, the prevalence of dowry is only increasing, maybe amongst the rich, which tells me that the deterrents in the act, the punishments, are not happening, because if every single day 14 people were being sentenced to prison for 5 years and it was on front page of an Indian newspaper, people would stop taking or giving dowry.
I have conducted various cases on this, but for the last more than 30 years, I have not come across except one case where the husband has been convicted under section 4 and 5 of the Dowry Prohibition Act. Only one case. Yes,
And
there are various convictions, number of convictions under 304B, under 498A. And as per our topic, I may be permitted, this is navigating Indian dowry laws. I will discuss with you how I have come across this dowry cases and dowry laws during my college days till date. It was a journey of from 1980 till date.
so things are getting better or worse?
If I will be permitted, I'll take just 2 to 3 minutes. I'll explain everything, how I have perceived this.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, I was a college student, and every day when I open the newspaper, there is a news. Every day. I think it is a news that daughter-in-law died in the house of in-laws. It is always a unnatural death. And most of the cases were burnt immolation cases, where it is called a kitchen death, where gas stove was not there. It was a kerosene stove, which was used of those times, burst and she died. As a student of science, I was not aware about these socio-economic issues or the facts of these things on the society or why these things are happening. But one question which was always troubling me, why only the daughter-in-law died due to stove burst, not the other family members. This continued, and one fine morning when I came back from my college, one of my classmates and my friend, his puppy, his elder brother's wife, died of, along with a 2 years of daughter. They committed suicide by pouring kerosene oil on both died immediately. And when I came back from my college, I came to know that father, mother, and his elder brothers have been arrested by the police. I have closely watched that dowry death case also. But not much aware, yes, there is a death, there is a news, or my friend is now affected. He was also young college going boy. Then I joined law when I was I think in final year of law. He came to me along with a judgment that my father, mother, and brother has been convicted under section 304B. And we want to engage a lawyer in the High Court for filing the appeal. Then we engaged as one of the known lawyer, the father of known lawyer. Then I read that judgment. And being a student of criminology, then I started digging the whole aspect, why all these things have happened. As rightly Swarna has pointed out, I have further explained it, that this is the socio-economic reasons which led to this type of harassment, which mostly resulted into a suicide, or in some cases, it is an act of the members of the in-laws family to kill the daughter-in-law by any means. Then I realized that this is it has a very deep socio-economic effect on the society. And then I realized when I was in the college in 80s, when I read those newspapers, it was on the peak. 70s, it started deepening in the society. In 80s, there are maximum deaths, which resulted into in 1983 amendment to the Indian Penal Code, and section 498A was inserted, making the harassment or a cruelty by the husband or the members of the family of the husband as an offense. And this offense was declared as a cognizable offense, non-compoundable offense. A very serious and heinous offense has been declared if the woman is treated with cruelty at the matrimonial place. But still, the legislature found that it is not sufficient because the deaths are at that point of time were increasing. Then in 1986, 304B was inserted. Now it is not a case of murder where intent is to be proved. Here the presumption is attached under the Indian Evidence Act that once a woman within the 7 years of her marriage died in the matrimonial home by way of unnatural death, it is an offense under section 304B, and the presumption is rebuttable at the ends of the husband or the in-laws family, where various convictions were made. It has a lot of deterrent effect. Yes, after 90, when I joined the profession, I came across various cases. Number of judgments were there where the persons were convicted. Then there was a trend convicting father-in-law, mother-in-law, and husband, and implicating even the sister-in-laws, implicating the Jethani, and number of other families. This process was also going on, which resulted into false implications also, maybe under 498A or even in 304B. And 304B, the things were, once a bride died, there was a pressure on the police to register an FIR. Yes, they have to register an FIR because it is a cognizable. But it is not required that immediately they should be arrested. But social pressures increased so much that even the husband, father-in-law, mother-in-law, and even sister-in-laws were arrested in these cases. With the passage of time, these cases were reported that, yes, there is a false implication. Then a filter was there. And ultimately in 304B, it mostly restricted to mother-in-law, father-in-law, and husband. In 498A, now at present, we can say that for the last 4 or 5 years, I have seen mostly it is the husband who is implicated, not the father-in-law or mother-in-law, unless and until there are serious allegations against them. So yes, so this is how this process of evolvement of law is there regarding the dowry cases, be it offense under the Dowry Prohibition Act, 498A, 304B, and there is another lateral development also in the shape of Domestic Violence Act in 2003. So this is how this law developed. then a deterrent effect. And deterrent effect has a lot of impact in the society. Now we are not. When I was, I think in 2000, there are various appeals in the cases of 304B. But now the number of 304B cases and consequently the appeals are less in number. Dowry deaths are less in number. But as per the statement of the minister in the parliament lately, approximately 7,000 dowry deaths are still happening in our country. Then I'll share my personal cases conducted by me, both where I found that the implication is false. In one case, I think a person was implicated in 302 because of the death of his wife. I have conducted the bail case of that person. And when I peruse the whole record, what happened in that case? She died because she poured kerosene oil on her and lit a fire and died. When I read that inquest report prepared by the police, that room has no window. And there is only 1 feet by 2 feet access to that room. And that too just below the roof. Now, the allegation is that the husband poured the kerosene oil on her and lit her, and ultimately she died of burn injuries. And the other statements of the police officer as well as the neighbors is that the door was locked from inside and we had broken the door and take the dead body of that lady. Now, how can a person pour kerosene oil, lit her, and then the door is closed from inside when there is no access to go out of that room? This is a false implication. This is an example of false implication. And in this year only, destination marriage was there. It happened on one day at a particular place. Both very rich and highly educated doctor families. Marriage was solemnized on one particular day. The next day they were coming back to their respective places. In the airport, husband and wife have a tiff on a small issue, resulting into lodging of an FIR with huge allegations, which have nothing to concern with. The marriage was not even survived for a day. And these laws have been misused also. So both ways, the laws are there. Yes, majority of the cases are genuine. The women are harassed at their workplace, matrimonial home. Maybe dowry. Even there are cases where the woman is an educated woman. She want to work. She want to perform certain professional or service duties. And she has not been allowed by the in-laws. This is also an harassment. This is also a cruelty upon a woman.
Yeah.
And these
Okay.
are...
Let's hear from Dr. Kiswar. So, Dr. Kiswar, what do you think? Are the laws sufficient? And if they are they being followed? Is convictions happening? Are people being charged? What part of this do we need to fix?
I would say the laws. Yes, absolutely. So I don't think the laws in themselves are sufficient for the sheer reason that their implementation is not as effective as has been shown and by the other panelists as well. But I do also agree that because of the false conviction, the increasing rates of false allegations, there is another movement to get done away with these laws. So that's a problem as well, which is rising. For instance, Save India Family is an organization that talks about the rights of men who have been harassed at the hands of women who falsely implicate them and their families in such cases of harassment and cruelty, etc. that organization itself is lobbying for the amendment of such laws, or even doing away with such laws, or if not doing away, then also putting in place a separate law which safeguards men and their families who are victims of false allegations. So the root, if you ask me, I think the root it lies at the base itself. So right at the time, so for instance, when Advocate Khurana was telling about a case in which there were two versions. One version was that the gate was open, and the other version was that the gate was locked from the inside. In such situations, it is at the hands of the police to do the investigation fully and in a fair manner, but sadly that is not the reality in India. So that, I think, is the most important contributing factor that leads to institution of such false allegations itself. And also the imbalance of gender that we have in India. So for instance, if a woman says something that has more weightage, especially when it comes to cruelty, dowry harassment, etc., than if a man along with his family is saying otherwise. So I think it has both the implementation aspect, which lies with the executive, including the police as well, and the sociological aspect as well. So I think there's no immediate resolution to this, but definitely the situations can be made better.
Right. Don't we have I mean, I know there is a law which I think could be used more, that filing a false police report is a huge offense. And people go to jail, or can, if they file a false police report. And I think we should have a country where no matter what, nobody should even dare to think about filing a false police report, because you're using the entire legal system, entire government system to press false charges, and you're using the government of India machinery. And so I know that in some countries, filing a false police report is such a horrendous crime that several countries in the world, that's the last thing anybody would do. So all these women that are filing false charges, they should be scared of going to prison by filing a false police report.
I do remember some of the cases from Delhi High Court in which fines were imposed on the women who filed such false cases. But the court itself, if you'll see at the basic level, they are hesitant to punish them and just get done with imposing fines itself. But sometimes the fines are also not very hefty, so that is the reason why these false allegations are anyway continuing.
Right.
Sir, it is an offense under section 182 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. It is an offense. And making a false report or giving false information to the public servant is an offense. But it is not actually implemented. But in NDPS cases, even the investigating officer or the person who initiated the process of criminal justice, if it found to be false, then they can be prosecuted and FIR can be, and I have an example also where the investigating officer was convicted.
Right. So Suvarna, you have a magic wand. How would you fix this whole system?
It's very, very difficult because, to be honest, the whole issue of dowry is more because of the mindset rather than anything else. So sociological, psychological, as well as socioeconomic factors are at play here whenever it comes to any offense related to dowry. So whether it's an actual implication of dowry on someone, on an actual accusation, or if it's a false accusation, both of them are heavily based on mindsets, which is one of the reasons why any offense related to dowry has been so unquantifiable, because in a large sects of the society, even today, dowry is considered to be a norm. It's a tradition. It's a part of the culture. So they don't see it through any through a rational lens and see it as, because it was initially started because women were uneducated. Now we're at a stage where women are mostly working and they themselves are they have their own income. So it's not like they are coming to the family empty handed, but that sort of mindset is still uh, not completely propagated, because people are still of the opinion that women are a burden in the society. And we still live, especially as I said, that northern regions of India. I've personally seen people, because my parents come from UP, and I've been to some of their villages because they wanted to visit. So I've seen in the neighborhood where father-in-laws are touching the feet of their son-in-laws because they think that this person is a god, and he has taken our daughter. And they're all educated people. They're people who have been in government jobs, who have been, who worked all their lives. Their daughters are also educated, yet I've seen them do this. So we still are living in a society where the thought process is still that. So unless and until the mindset is changed, any offense related to dowry, it cannot be I mean, the number of offenses can't go down. I disagree on this point.
So,
Preeti, you'll...
so let me ask you this, Suvarna. I know the laws changed in 56 that girls and women have right to property. Then some big act happened in 2000, whatever, 4 or whatever. But are Indian parents now, the semi-educated ones, are they leaving properties and wealth when they die to both their kids, both sons and daughters?
They are. In most cases, I also I was a litigant for a year and a half, and any case that we saw related to succession at the time, in most cases they had left equal property to both their daughters and sons. This, however, is a bit more complicated when it comes to business families, because they want their sons to inherit their businesses. So in those cases, mostly more property would go to the son, because that property would be related to the business that they were doing. And these were mostly the cases that were there related to succession, where women would be contesting for their share in the property. But yes, in most of the educated sects of the society, we've seen that it's much better now, that the parents themselves are leaving an equal amount of property to their sons as well as their daughters. So it's a lot
Which,
better now.
which should end this practice of dowry, that when the girl is leaving, somehow we have to give her share now, which was such a bad thing, because the parents are living and they're in their 30s or early 40s or whatever, and then they're having to come up with half of the share of their wealth to give to the daughter, which means they have to take loans at high interest rates or sell stuff that they maybe need to live later on. So I think the underlying, if the practice changes, that the girl will get her fair share, maybe some of this dowry stuff will go away.
But sir, if I may, the concept of dowry now has changed completely from that. It's no longer about women having something to sustain themselves, or women feeling more comfortable in their husbands' homes, but it's more about a socio-economic practice which has been happening since ages. Like it's a norm for them. It's absolutely normal to give dowry, to accept dowry. I've seen cases where people have themselves offered dowry, that no, this is something we want to do. They gave uh, I heard from a cousin of mine. She had gone to a wedding where the father had given all sorts of things, from like a small mixie all the way to a car, to the husband. And we were joking about that. We just made a joke on it, that uh, if a guy has to be given even a mixie, then is this the right groom for her? That they had to actually even buy him a mixie, which is such a small thing. So the idea now has been that, okay, we can do so much for our daughter. It's also become like a like something that they can show off that, okay, you know, this is the amount of money we have, this is our social standing, then we can do all of this for our daughter. But it's not exactly something that they're doing for her. It's more like, you know, they're just, uh, it's something that's just there out for show rather than anything else. So in the upper class and upper middle class where this is happening, this is what it has come down to. In the lower class, of course, there are a lot of people who are uneducated and illiterate, and so for them, they actually need to help their daughters to sustain. And but even they have started seeing this as something that needs to be done in order to get their daughters married. So for them, it's a condition that this has to be fulfilled, and only then can our daughter get married.
So, Dr. Jha, you know, some families have both sons and daughters, and then when their daughters are getting married, they're giving dowries, and when their sons are getting married, they're expecting dowries. But there is no concerted effort that, you know, what is the point of all of this? Let's do away with it. And I remember I was very young and I was floating around in my family. Something was going on, and I overheard somebody older said, an older person in our family saying, let's get our daughter married, our son get married first. So whatever dowry we'll get, we'll give it when our daughter gets married. And so now several societies, Dr. Jha, don't have any laws on dowry giving or taking. Do you think there will come a day in India soon that will do away with the dowry prohibition rules?
It has arrived actually in a way, because there are some families who are against giving or taking of dowry. But at the hindsight, there are few families, they feel bad when they don't get some gift, uh, because it is a sign of respect. So, but there are families, educated families, I would like to say, because now the world has become a global village, and the kids are going out. If they're earning in dollars and asking for dowry in rupees, that will be like peanuts to them. So things have changed like that. So and also the mindset has actually changed. Now people are thinking, from the other side, that they are thinking that the girl should get the share in the family's property, because uh, there are parents who want to give it to their daughters, but uh, everything has some end point. Like people may not have so much money after giving so much dowry, what they will give to their daughters. So now the negotiations are going in a different way. So you may count it as a dowry, or you may not count it as a dowry, but it can be termed as a gift as well. But the concept of dowry, the way it was being demanded or given, has reduced a bit. But the statistics are very alarming. And statistics since 2011 to 16 that I have with myself say something else. Like from 2011, National Crime Records Bureau says that 8,233 dowry death cases were reported, and to 2015 says 7,634, and the conviction rate is only 34.7%, and the reported cases were 93.7%. 2016, it is the highest that I have with myself, that is 1,10,378 deaths because of dowry demands. And it's very concerning, it's very alarming. And despite despite the laws, despite the efforts being made, or maybe there's the lack of efficient efforts being made, like that is not sufficient for us. So, because there are many daughters who are marrying some people from USA or Canada, and they are being the victim of frauds. They are the victims of cruelty, domestic violence, and so they commit suicide. So these dowry deaths are still happening in our country, and there are murders also. So laws, actually, the 5 years imprisonment, or the small amount of 15,000, that is the fine that is being supposed to be paid. So these are not sufficient enough. Also, there are no conviction. They can. It has to be proved, and many times it is not proved. Many times it is going unrecorded. Despite that, I will say that there has been some kind of improvement because daughters are getting share in the property, but we need to be cautious, and it's still there.
Right. And I think, how can you have a deterrent if conviction is going to take 10 years? And which is what's going on, right? So
also, I would like to say that there are cases like Section 490A. This has become the weapon in the hands of disgruntled wives or women, and they are actually making the cases of those women whose cases are genuine. Because of the false cases being filed, the genuine cases are losing ground. They are not being paid attention to. So the misuse of law is also there. So conviction and deterrence, everything is being affected by these things.
And filing a false police report should be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Preeti Chauhan. Go ahead, Preeti. Okay, while waiting for Preeti, Mr. Benunath, go ahead.
Yeah, I have three questions. Now, when it comes to dowry, now, how do you prove the dowry has been given? Because nothing is taken in check. It's always given in cash or in material something. In most of the cases, look, I'm from South India, and we know how dowry is given and taken in South India. It's mostly given in cash, and the dealing only happens between the two family members. There's no other third party involved in this. So the proving of giving or taking dowry is a little bit difficult in dowry cases. And whenever they give dowry, they say it's a stridan. They don't use the word dowry. So whenever the word stridan is used, no, you cannot prove it's a dowry matter at all only. And other thing is that when it comes to giving of properties to both son or daughter, it's after this the landmark judgment, Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma judgment. It's equal given to everyone, whether it's a daughter or a son. You don't have to go to the court at all only for this property. It's equal given. And in case if the parents write the will or some other document, that is more than sufficient. But the law is very clear on when it comes to property issues, distribution of property. The daughter, the sons, everyone gets, including in the business, unless there's some disputes. Even when it comes to distribution of property, if it is proved that X amount is given as stridan or as a dowry, even that is counted as distribution of property in distribution of property cases. So we cannot say only dowry as a single thing, but even dowry is also counted when it comes to distribution of property, because that amount is given earlier only.
Right. But why have a law, right? Why have a law in a country where that law is being violated at every single marriage in the country? Every single marriage, everywhere in the world, both the boy's family or the girl's family, or the boy gives money to the girl or a gift to the girl. It's customary for the guy to, there's even joking rules in countries that a guy is supposed to spend 3 months of his salary to buy an engagement ring for the girl, right? And then no matter what happens at a wedding, the girl's parents will buy clothes for her and give something to the son-in-law, and all out of love and affection. No dowry, no nothing. So the fact that at every single wedding, there is some monetary transaction happening and money going back and forth, why have laws that every single wedding there is a violation of the law? So at some point we need to do away with it and fix the society in other ways. So fortunately, we did this, give property to the daughters. That'll have a big impact. But it needs to become fashionable to not have this dowry discussion, and it'll happen. But having laws that are being violated consistently, and there is no prosecution, there is no indictment, there's no conviction, which means laws are useless, which means there is no deterrent. That's the problem.
So may I add, am I audible now?
Yes, Preeti, go ahead.
Hi. See, when we talk about it has to be a deterrent, we forget one thing, which is very crucial, that all these families who are giving dowry, so-called quote unquote dowry, I'm calling it here, also have sons. And they're expecting the same amount of give and take happening when they get married, their son off also. So for us to assume and believe that a woman's family or a girl's family is going to file a complaint and to pursue a case against the in-laws is very difficult, because they have a son in their own family and they expect the same kind of treatment there also. Now, second
Yeah,
point,
so-
when somebody said that women are not burden anymore, women are economically far more independent now than what they were in yesterday's years, is highly, highly contestable. We have data from various agencies telling us that the rate of employment of Indian women particularly have gone down considerably. Today, we have only 19% women who are engaged in any kind of economic activity in both rural and urban sectors. It was 37% back in 1997, which has gone down to 18 to 19% right now. So to have this assumption that women are now far more educated, they're earning more, is we're talking about only highly upper middle class, tier 1, privileged India. We're not talking about India in general. So that point is extremely contestable. Second point, when somebody made about, of course, we have the Equal Properties Act now, but we don't have a data as yet, which tells us that women are getting equal share in the property. We don't have any data. We do have data. I don't have it to quote it right now, but we do have data which tells us that law is there, the intent is there, but in reality, it is not transitioning to the daughters getting the equal share in the family's property. It has to be contested. Very few families in upper middle class are giving away that property with their own free will. We don't have data that tells that women are getting any kind of money from the family also. So when we are making statements like this and generalizing certain social economic trends, please, we got to be really mindful that what we're talking about is extremely privileged, highly elite class here. We're not representing India, And when we talk about misuse of the law, I think we all have to understand that misusing something that can be misused is a human nature. There are loopholes in all kind of laws, all societies, all religion that get misused. So the idea, I think the entire advocacy here is to make law in such a way that the misuse of law is not possible, rather than penalizing people who are approaching the police. Because knowing our systems in place, anybody who is not able to prove themselves or have adequate amount of evidences or corroborative circumstances will get in return penalized by the system.
Right. Yes. I think we lawyers have a duty and responsibility, and maybe we need to play a bigger role. At the end of the day, I think that's kind of missing to a large extent in our society, that lawyers are not trusted, lawyers are not asked to participate in big decision making, and that let's go to a lawyer and ask them for solutions does not come to people's minds. I remember Daksh, an organization in Bangalore, doing a study about 5-6 years ago, had a big study of what happens to people in India when they have issues, what do they do? And going to a lawyer was 7th or 8th on that list. Asking the priest, asking the neighbor, asking a friend, asking a parent, asking a child, asking a sibling was ahead of lawyers. So in reality, now that the laws have passed that the daughters should get equal share, and I think Suvarna pointed out that when the business families have a business running, then to give, and the son is working in the business and the daughter is not, then to give half of the business away to the daughter is difficult. It is difficult throughout the world, but societies and people, and especially lawyers, have come up with solutions. So if there is a family and they have a steel plant, and the son is working at the steel plant and the daughter's married, and the steel plant is now worth 100 crores and both mother and father are gone, doesn't mean that you give the steel plant to the son and don't give it to the daughter, because you can't break up the steel plant in half. But there's solutions. And the best sentence I've ever heard in my life is when somebody said, there are no problems in this world. The only problem is not finding a solution. So as lawyers, it is our job and duty, and maybe we need to make more noise, that, hey, it's okay. You have a steel plant. It's worth 100 crores. The son is working, great. But there are ways to give money to the daughter. You could value the steel plant at 100 crores, and you can say to the son that, okay, we'll give you 60%, 40% needs to be given to the daughter, and give 40 crores to the daughter, 1 crore a year for the next 40 years. Give her interest on the 40%, 40 crores that you've not paid her. Off the net profit every year, give her 25% of the profit. You own 60%. We'll give you another 15% of the profit for being the CEO of the company or managing director of the company. But 25% of the net profit should be given to her for life. And then the daughter will have a son tomorrow, and maybe the son doesn't have a son tomorrow. So maybe the roles will be reversed. So just because it's difficult, yes, it's difficult. When there is a big business family or a family that owns a big business, yes, it's difficult to cut it up if the daughter is not working. Furthermore, to Preeti's point of daughters not working, that needs to change as well. And there should be no difference. Just because it's a daughter doesn't mean she gets to go away to some other family and start bearing children and not work. She should work. The single largest increase in GDP of the Western world, of the developed nations in the world, Northern Europe and US and North America and other places, between 1950 and 2000, the single largest reason for the increase in GDP of the Western developed countries was the birth control pill. When that pill happened, women were free to control their pregnancies, time them, and not have them or delay them. And they could focus on work, and they started having one child, two child, started getting married late, having children late, the first child late, spacing between the first and second, and not having after second, so that she could focus on career. And yes, Preeti said there's 17-18% women. My recollection of India is that there's 22-23% women participation. And in the Western world, it's 54-55%, double of India. And yes, that number needs to increase rapidly. I'm so happy that on our panel, there's more women than men. It's beautiful. And I'm so glad it's happening, at least in the big cities. And but anyways, there's solutions to everything. So I want to end this with, I'll give the last few seconds to each one of the panelists. Tell us what, as Indian lawyers in India, as leading professionals in India, as educated people in India, what is our desire for how the dowry system, the laws and the deterrence and the punishments, how should it be in an ideal world going forward? What should be our outlook that we present? Like, for instance, the Indian Lawyers Association, representing 1.5 million lawyers in India. What should be our stance? Dr. Jha?
Well, dowry is a deeply rooted practice. So it cannot be totally eradicated. It will take a lot of time. I won't say it will take some time, but because we need to change the mindset, first of all. Because in Indian families, the more the boy is educated, the highly educated men will, and the stable financial condition they have, the more the dowry they get. Also, the parents also, even if they educate their daughters, they intend to marry the daughters into well-to-do family, and then settle with the thought that she will have a good life, and now they don't need to give her the share in the property, or many such ideas. First, we have to overcome the idea of uh, thinking daughter as a liability. If you understand that daughter is also a member of the family and she also has a life like the son has, and why the daughters are supposed to challenge the property rights, because I will agree with one of the panelists that she said that in reality women are still not getting their share in the property. We are talking about middle class families and the people from lower strata, not the business class, the business or the big elite families. What they do is their business. Means what I mean is they know what how to plan the things. They do it accordingly. They want to or they don't want to. That is their thing. But in these families, the daughter is still not getting their shares. They are still struggling for those things. In fact, they are not asking their parents, the old parents, for that, considering their age and the financial condition of the family. Even if it is a well-to-do family, the girls are not asking, so that there is peace in the family. So we need to think a lot, not only about dowry. We need to think a lot more, and then only this menace that can be overcome. But it will take a lot of time. The Indian social system has to change it entirely. They have to think beyond this.
Good. Dr. Kishwar.
Yes, I think that as the Indian Lawyers Association, I would want our organization's stance to be more gender neutral, in the sense we equally are vocal about the mishaps that happen due to extortion and demands of dowry and the repercussions thereof. But I would also like to see the Indian Lawyers Association to be equally vocal about the mishaps that the other gender faces along with their families, including the false allegations and the repercussions thereof that we discussed at length in this panel today. So those are my few contributions.
Thank you. Mr. Khurana.
Please. I have two suggestions. One, making it an awareness campaign, both at the social activist level and the government level. Take an example, social movement was initiated, Swachh Bharat. It has a lot of impact in the country. Though we can't say that 100% success is there, but yes, there is a lot of impact in that. So first, we have to create a social awareness among the masses about this dowry and its impact. And second, awareness among all the members of the society regarding right to property of the women. The right is not existing, but the girl or the woman is not coming forward to get it executed, get the benefit of that. Either they are not
fight their brother. They don't want to fight their brother. Right.
Yes. So most of the India lived on the countryside. So we have to create an awareness campaign and a social reform movement, which may ultimately, maybe in another 5 years, maybe another 10 years, we may get the desired results. And second is, being a lawyer, we should come forward and advise the clients at the initial stage in an effective and a right manner. I'm just giving you one example. A mother and a daughter came to me about 6 months ago. She was married to a boy living in Australia. He's a citizen of Australia, though Indian. There was a matrimonial dispute. Both mother and daughter were highly agitated when they came to me. Now, they want to file all sorts of cases against the husband and his family. If, as a lawyer, I should go along with them with keeping in mind that I'll get 4, 5, 6 cases, then both the families are in litigation, and ultimately what is right, what is wrong may be decided after 10 years, when that girl of 26 years of age may achieve 36 and lost a precious time of her life of 10 years. I advise them, are you aware what are the consequences of entering into litigation? I explained them, then first you have to go to the police station. You have to agitate before the court also. You have to go to the court of law, engage the lawyer, pay the fee. You may get the maintenance maybe after 2 years, maybe after 3 years, maybe in 5 years. So are you able to continue with this litigation and continuous harassment? Because you are filing a case, you have to go to the court of law. They may be summoned after 2 years. First 2 years, you have to go to the court of law and attend the proceedings. Then they realize, yes, it is not good for us. And she will lose another 5, 6 years, and she may not get another opportunity of remarrying, maybe another opportunity of settling her career in the life. So it is our primary duty to advise the clients and tell them that what are the actual consequences of entering into litigation. This is my take. Thank you.
Right. I think the biggest problem in India, if you ask me from a legal point of view, is that lawyers don't work on a contingency basis and are not allowed to work. If they were these sisters that maybe don't have money to go to a lawyer to file a lawsuit against the brother to ask for the property rights that the brother is getting and she's not getting, if there were contingency lawyers throughout the country, I think 50% of India's problems would get solved because there would be 1.5 million very motivated lawyers that would, any wrong happening anywhere would get involved so that they could get some money for their client and themselves. And I think for India to not allow lawyering or lawyers to charge fees on a contingency basis is a sign outside of India that reads in neon blinking red lights, no justice for the poor in this country, because the poor around the world can only afford contingency lawyers. We end with you, Suvarna.
First of all, I completely agree with Mr. Khurana. It's very important that we run awareness campaigns. We have been able to we've been able to help people with a lot of social evils, such as female feticides, female infanticides. Like, we've made a considerable difference with proper advertising, with proper social awareness banners that are running in order to make sure that at least some people are more aware of these issues. So I think with respect to dowry as well, that's really, really needed. Another thing that I would probably suggest for dowry related issues is that women need to be made more self-sufficient. Right of ever since they're, because at the moment what is happening is that as they're raised, they're groomed to be good wives, groomed to be subservient, submissive, because of which what happens is, and also to not really raise their voice and to be constantly aware of what the society expects from them, because of which what happens is that when actual cases of cruelty and harassment are happening, which are associated with dowry demands, women don't say anything. They keep quiet. They don't even, a lot of them don't even tell their parents that this sort of a thing has happened, and then it ultimately escalates and reaches this stage where finally dowry death happens. But the initial indicators that this situation is going to lead here were always there. There were always signs that this could become something worse, but due to the societal pressures and their upbringing, the grooming bit, it's just, it never comes to them naturally that okay, this is something that we can tell people about or tell someone close to us about, and they might be able to help us out of this situation. So that is very, very important, so that they can protect themselves from a situation of this sort, which is, I know, a more difficult task. But again, if we actually make people aware of their rights, if we make women, especially women and men both in the rural areas, aware of these sort of offenses and these sort of crimes, evils existing in our society, we might be able to make more of a difference. I really don't think that, although I've read a lot on this, that we should make the laws which are related to dowry more stringent, so punishments more stringent. But I'm not sure how well that's going to help, because currently demanding dowry, you can only get punished with up to 5 years of imprisonment mostly, or 15,000 rupees of, along with 15,000 rupees of fine, which is nothing, because this law was made long back and they haven't really amended it much in terms of the monetary punitive penalties. So I really don't think that increasing it is going to help anyway. But I do feel that if we start running awareness campaigns, this might be a much better, that might be a much better option for us.
Right. Very good. When these laws are put in and when the government puts in 15,000 rupee fine in 1961, so one way around all of this stuff is, unless you amend the laws or you say there's a cost of living increase built in, but the system that works the best around the world is when you put in laws like this, you put in a line saying the penalty for taking dowry shall be 3x the amount that you received. Then that way you never have to amend the laws. Second, the penalty is huge, and then it has a deterrent. But I don't think it's the laws that are the problem in India. I think we have a law about everything. It's the enforcement of it, and then adjudication of it in courts. And if it's going to take more than 18 months, it's not justice. Times have changed, things have gotten bad or worse, or divorce has happened or whatever. So this kind of stuff, the enforcement and adjudication needs to be fast. But good, I'm glad we're talking. Let's continue this, and we'll increase the awareness campaign. How many lawyers work at IDIA?
Most of us are lawyers. So I think around 6, 7 of us are lawyers. Our managing trustee was also a lawyer. Now he's more of a business person, but earlier he was out of NLS Bangalore. So
Okay,
most
good.
of us are lawyers.
So let's make a deal with Madhura that next time we have a webinar, or every webinar we do for the next 12 months, we want a panelist from IDIA. We'd love to have you. If not you, then somebody else. But we need to support organizations like IDIA, because now Mr. Khurana is saying we need to do awareness. It's a great idea, but then we need people and organizations like IDIA to spread the message, and then we'll do our share. So thank you, everyone. Dr. Jha, Dr. Kishwar, Mr. Khurana, Savarna, I'm eternally grateful. Wonderful webinar. Thank you for sharing and participating in this open discussion. And please join us for more webinars. And more importantly, please give us ideas for more webinars. We would like to do one every single morning, if we can. And if we not only give us ideas, but come up with your friends who can be speakers. And the ideal thing for us is for you to send us an email saying we are doing a webinar on September 14th at 6 p.m. And this is the topic, and I have 4 speakers, and everything is set. That would be heaven for us. So thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good weekend.
Thank you so much.